Dinar Shift. The moment we are about to explore is one that has been discussed and debated within global financial circles for what seems like a generation. Today's report dives into an event that, if confirmed in the real world, would mark a truly historic turning point in the economic trajectory of a nation: the potential final, authorizing signature on a document confirming a major currency revaluation. For years, the story of the Iraqi dinar has been a complex tapestry woven with threads of national instability, rigorous economic recovery efforts, and widespread speculation. This hypothetical development represents a critical juncture, one that transitions a prolonged period of uncertainty into a new phase of confirmed, regulated action. It is a moment that demands a closer, more detailed examination to understand its magnitude, not as a prediction of the future, but as a framework for what such an institutional shift would mean for the currency's standing on the global stage. The very idea of a currency revaluation, or RV, has long existed in a unique space that blends macroeconomic theory with fervent community hope. The intensity of this conversation stems from the dinar's journey, which saw its value deeply affected by decades of conflict and sudden policy changes. When a currency is widely considered to be undervalued due to protracted instability, the path to restoring its strength is not merely an arithmetic adjustment. It is a profound process requiring deep-seated structural and fiscal reform within the issuing country. This endeavor involves building international confidence, achieving consistent political stability, and demonstrating sustained economic discipline. Therefore, the notion of a final signature acts as a potent symbol, a formal declaration by the highest governmental and central banking authorities that these long, arduous internal requirements have finally been met and officially ratified. For those who have followed the dinar story with great scrutiny, the lack of an official, binding confirmation has been the source of most ambiguity and the engine of speculation. A hypothetical final approval signature would logically represent the culmination of a multi-stage process of structural modernization. This groundwork is absolutely necessary to move the currency from an unstable position to one that is regulated and recognized internationally, without first completing prerequisites like strengthening the national banking system, building robust foreign currency reserves, aligning with international financial standards, and demonstrating control over inflation. Any upward currency adjustment would be a measure that risks long-term stability. The signature in this context is the government's formal endorsement of this comprehensive readiness. The framework of currency reform in a post-conflict economy such as Iraq's is rooted in establishing a resilient foundation. Over the past 20 years, the nation's focus has been on complex efforts, including the complete overhaul of its central banking laws, adherence to anti-money laundering and counter-terrorist financing standards, and the expansion of non-oil-based economic sectors to ensure diversified revenue. These slow, incremental steps are the true indicators of a nation's commitment to monetary stability. The structural integrity of the financial system must be able to absorb and manage the immense logistical and economic weight of a major currency change. It is this unseen, behind-the-scenes work that makes a formal revaluation announcement logistically possible. Considering the conceptual idea of final approval, it signifies the very last internal action required by the government to transition into the execution phase of a monetary shift. This would involve a comprehensive sign-off following a battery of legal reviews, the establishment of precise banking regulations, and meticulous coordination with global financial bodies. The alignment of key state institutions, specifically the Ministry of Finance, the central bank, and the executive branch, is paramount. This three-way institutional consensus would publicly communicate that the currency is not merely experiencing a temporary shift, but is definitively moving into a new position of regulated, recognized, and sustained value. The complex, critical nature of these preparatory internal processes cannot be overstated. Before any nation can responsibly authorize a large-scale currency adjustment, it must ensure its entire financial apparatus is ready. This includes painstaking financial audits, the formation of specialized review boards, and the structuring of compliant exchange pathways. Without these measures, the financial system could face immediate stress and instability. The government's preparation focuses on securing its system against both internal shock and external market pressure, ensuring that the new value is grounded in verifiable economic strength, rather than policy whim, thus making the moment of the signature a statement of verified, system-wide readiness. For years, the enduring narrative surrounding the dinar has centered on the belief that Iraq's vast natural resources and its eventual return to political and economic stability would inevitably lead to a higher currency valuation, reflecting its potential. While we focus purely on the structure of the news transcript's hypothetical announcement, it is valuable to examine how such an official approval would cascade through the financial system, both domestically and internationally. The ripple effect would trigger an intense phase of operational readiness, affecting virtually every commercial and central bank connected to the global monetary network. In a scenario of official announcement, the banking sector would immediately move to prepare its operational infrastructure. This involves upgrading technological systems to handle high-volume transactions, implementing new verification and compliance protocols, and establishing secure scheduling portals for exchanges. This essential preparation is far from instant. Financial institutions require a defined time frame to rigorously test their internal mechanisms, train staff on new regulatory requirements, and establish secure logistical flows to manage customer demand, ensuring a calm, structured, and compliant process for all participants. A significant amount of the emotional tension surrounding the RV narrative has been fueled by a long period of uncertainty and conflicting data. The lack of consistent, clear communication from official sources in the past inadvertently created an environment where rumors and unverified claims could rapidly proliferate, often overshadowing factual economic developments. This highlights the critical importance of distinguishing between unfounded speculation and formal official confirmation. Any legitimate announcement of this magnitude must be communicated through the recognized channels of the government and the central bank, ensuring integrity and public trust. Understanding how official processes are structured is the ultimate tool for filtering information. Governments operate through validated, formal announcements that are published and cross-referenced by international institutions. Relying solely on unofficial online networks or private groups for news about a major national policy change carries inherent risks of misinformation. This perspective is vital for the community, providing a framework for evaluating announcements, identifying inconsistencies, and relying on sound, document-backed sources rather than transient emotional reports. Beyond the logistical and economic dimensions, a formal announcement of readiness would carry a profound psychological impact for the community that has followed the journey for so long. The shift from an ambiguous, open-ended narrative to one with a definitive structure and direction is mentally and emotionally significant. It replaces years of abstract hoping with a concrete, actionable framework. This desire for clarity and resolution is a fundamental human drive, and the idea of a final signature directly addresses the need for closure on a protracted story of economic recovery. Such a moment, if genuine, would necessitate a significant shift in the collective mindset of those involved. It moves the focus from waiting and speculation to planning and execution within a defined system. However, even in the midst of major, exciting announcements, the need for emotional discipline and critical, objective thinking remains paramount. Verifying every detail, staying calm, and adhering to official guidance are the critical guardrails for navigating the transition responsibly, ensuring sound decisions are made under high-stakes conditions. The global ripple effects of a currency revaluation of this size would extend far beyond the nation's borders. A significant monetary shift affects international investors, neighboring trading partners, regional political alliances, and the core functioning of major financial institutions. Given Iraq's pivotal role in the global energy supply chain, any adjustment to its national currency carries a potential for broader economic influence that warrants close international monitoring and response. In this context, an official RV would logically require international systems and partners to adapt to the change. Regional markets would need to adjust their trade and settlement protocols, and foreign investors would require clear guidance on new exchange regulations and investment frameworks. These considerations underscore the complexity of the decision, highlighting why a monetary policy change of this scale involves months of discrete consultation and coordination with international financial bodies, ensuring a smooth integration into global economic standards. Another critical point of discussion is the rigorous documentation and verification process that would be required if banking exchanges were to open. Financial institutions must be prepared to authenticate physical currency notes, meticulously reviewing security features, serial patterns, and anti-counterfeiting measures. Similarly, digital currency holders would be subject to comprehensive account reviews, transaction history analyses, and strict compliance checks to establish the legitimacy of their holdings. These authentication procedures are fundamental safeguards, designed to protect both the individual holder and the integrity of the financial institution against fraud and malfeasance. In a high-volume scenario, detailed documentation, such as proofs of purchase, account statements, and personal identification, becomes non-negotiable. Regulatory systems are designed to operate under strict legal frameworks during such major adjustments, making adherence to official instructions about required paperwork a cornerstone of the process. Security awareness is a foundational topic that must be addressed whenever a high-profile financial event is anticipated or rumored. The risk of scams, fraudulent brokers, false contracts, and deceptive online claims typically increases dramatically during periods of heightened financial excitement. This makes understanding and utilizing only official, verified exchange pathways absolutely essential for personal protection. Viewers must be equipped to identify the warning signs of typical financial scams, such as demands for upfront fees, offers to bypass the official banking system, or guaranteed outcomes, and understand the psychology behind why people fall for misinformation when emotions are high. Security awareness, regardless of the size of one's holdings, is a non-negotiable part of navigating any financial environment, and relying exclusively on validated sources is the most effective defense. A major announcement in a hypothetical scenario must also be viewed through the lens of Iraq's overarching economic vision. The nation has consistently expressed its long-term goals of diversifying its economy away from an over-reliance on oil, strengthening its digital banking infrastructure, and establishing fiscal policies that attract foreign direct investment. A successful regulated revaluation would serve as a powerful signal of financial maturity and alignment with these long-term national objectives. This monetary decision would be rooted in a strategic economic philosophy. Nations sometimes revalue their currencies as a deliberate policy tool to correct for past economic shocks and to symbolically demonstrate a renewed commitment to fiscal health. Understanding this philosophical alignment places the RV within a broader historical pattern of global economics, where currency shifts are part of a national strategy to improve its standing and competitive position in the international marketplace. The necessity of international cooperation for an event of this magnitude cannot be overstated. No currency revaluation occurs in a vacuum. Major international financial bodies, global trading partners, and worldwide regulatory systems must often monitor and coordinate their efforts with the nation undertaking the change. Our analysis highlights how global institutions would typically respond to such a major adjustment and the required steps for international recognition to be granted. This coordination involves a complex interplay of shared communication and policy alignment across borders, ensuring that the new value is recognized and traded consistently by all major financial centers. Understanding the global aspect helps viewers appreciate that a currency's official standing is a matter of both domestic law and international agreement, adding another layer of complexity to the overall process. Focusing on the operational flow, an exchange event requires immense logistical precision from the banking sector. Institutions would need to establish secure appointment portals to manage customer flow, set clear capacity limits to prevent system overload, and assign specialized staff to handle verification and compliance duties. Every transaction, whether large or small, would require meticulous documentation and the issuance of a verified receipt. This logistical preparation involves rigorous, coordinated planning and reliable execution across every branch. Our report explains the scale of this necessary preparation, why pre-scheduled appointments and staggered timing are crucial elements for managing high demand, and how a controlled, efficient process would unfold under real-world conditions to maintain order and security. Another essential theme in this extended analysis is the principle of fairness and equitable access for all participants. If an RV scenario were implemented, the institutions involved would be obligated to create systems that allow holders of all sizes to participate in a structured, transparent, and regulated environment. This requires careful consideration of appointment segmentation and the establishment of separate, dedicated verification stations. The system design must incorporate explicit protections to ensure that all individuals, regardless of the size of their holdings, are granted fair access to the regulated exchange process. Transparency is the critical cornerstone of this design, ensuring that the process is auditable, traceable, and perceived as equitable, thereby reinforcing public trust in the financial system's ability to handle a major adjustment ethically. Integral to the entire process is the underlying technological infrastructure. Banking systems would require major updates, including new software, highly secure databases, advanced authentication tools, and encrypted communication channels. Furthermore, robust redundancy systems must be in place to prevent overloads and failures under peak demand, as technology is the silent backbone of all modern large-scale financial exchanges. We explore the behind-the-scenes technology that makes financial events of this size possible, highlighting why institutions must invest heavily in system stability, cybersecurity, and data integrity. Without a robust and highly secured digital foundation, the sheer volume and complexity of a national currency adjustment would be logistically impossible to manage safely and efficiently in the modern financial era. Finally, the legal framework provides the essential scaffolding for the entire endeavor. Every aspect of a currency adjustment requires explicit legal compliance, government oversight, stringent banking regulation, and comprehensive documentation storage for future auditing. These structures ensure that every step of the process is accountable, traceable, and operating within the bounds of national and international law. This framework is the government's assurance that the monetary adjustment is sound and justifiable, and it relies on strict protocols to maintain long-term financial stability and credibility. We conclude by emphasizing that clear, structured public communication through official channels is paramount to manage expectations, prevent the spread of confusion and misinformation, and solidify the new stable position of the currency in the eyes of the nation and the world.